So apparently, and stay with me here, we weren't born. We were made, like in a lab, by aliens, 450,000 years ago. And the reason? It's wild. Okay, so this whole thing starts with a planet, not Earth, a planet most people have never even heard of. Nibiru, that's the name. And by the time our story starts, Nibiru is dying. The people on it? Bigger than us, smarter than us, a civilization way older than ours. But here's the problem. Their sky is breaking. Their atmosphere is just leaking out into space. And without it, the whole planet freezes over. So they need a fix, fast. And the fix, somehow, is here, on Earth. Not for water, not for food, not even slaves yet. That comes later. They came for gold. Yeah, gold. Of all the things in the universe. Why? Why would a civilization that crosses star systems need gold from a tiny rock like Earth? Here's where it gets strange. There's this guy, Zecharia Sitchin, wrote a book in the 70s called The 12th Planet. And in it, he says, Nibiru's sky was failing, and the only fix was a shield. A shield made of gold. Like microscopic gold particles, suspended way up in the atmosphere, bouncing sunlight back, sealing the leak. Sounds insane, I know, but hold on. We actually do something almost identical. It's called geoengineering. NASA's been talking about doing it on Mars. Spray reflective particles, trap the heat, basically build an atmosphere from scratch. So the science actually checks out. Gold reflects radiation better than almost anything we've found. That's why NASA still coats spacecraft visors in it. The James Webb telescope, its main mirror, gold-plated. So if you had to save a planet, yeah, gold makes a weird amount of sense. But here's the part that bugs me. Why mine it? Why dig it out of Earth? They've got starships. They could just make it in a lab or grab it from asteroids. Unless they did try and it just wasn't enough. There's another book, Lost Book of Enki, same guy. And in it, he writes that the Anunnaki actually tried first. They mined the Mediterranean Sea, pulled gold straight out of the water with machines on their ships. But the yield was nothing, like a trickle, when they needed oceans of the stuff. So they looked further inland, and they found it, in Africa. Massive veins of gold, rivers of it buried under the southern continent, just sitting there, untouched. It was easier to just come here and dig. And this is where it all goes sideways. Because here's the thing, the Anunnaki didn't dig the gold themselves. They sent a younger generation to do it, called the Igigi. These were basically their kids, the next generation of gods. And in Mesopotamian myth, this is real, written down. The heavens had 3 levels. The bottom one was the stars. The middle one? That's where the Igigi lived. The young gods, forever working, forever stuck beneath the older ones. And after thousands of years of this, they broke. Think about that for a second. The kind of exhaustion that breaks a god. No rest, no end, just dig, forever. So they burned their tools, marched on Enlil's estate. Enlil was basically their boss, the head Anunnaki, and they refused to dig another inch. A literal strike by gods. Let that sink in. And the Anunnaki, they didn't see this coming, like at all. Their whole mission, their whole reason for being here, was built on the Igigi just doing the work. And now they've got nothing. They needed workers. They needed them yesterday. So they did the unthinkable. Enki, chief scientist of the gods, had an idea. There was already a primitive species walking around Earth, Homo erectus, upright, barely tool-making, basically advanced apes. Take their DNA, Splice it with Anunnaki DNA. See what comes out. Smart enough to follow instructions, strong enough to swing a pick, and, this is the dark part, dumb enough to never figure out they should rebel. And just like that, we existed. Not as a creation, as a solution, a workforce, for a mine, for a dying planet none of us would ever see. Now here's the part most people skip past. The Anunnaki never planned to stay on Earth. They wanted the gold and out. That was the whole mission. But once they made us, it all unraveled. We multiplied. We learned. We started asking questions they didn't want us to ask. We built temples to them, whole cities, kingdoms. And the Anunnaki, they couldn't leave. They became gods to a species they'd created in a basement, trapped in the affairs of their own experiment. Which means, and I want you to think about this, every gold ring on your finger, every chain, every wedding band, comes from the metal that, supposedly, was the entire reason we exist. We weren't supposed to ask questions. We were supposed to dig. We weren't supposed to look up at the stars. We were supposed to keep our eyes on the dirt.